Today, we will understand the difference between the soul and the body. The body part, most individuals in the realm of spirituality have got it right, that the body is created newly from the Panch Tattva, Panch Bhut, fire, earth, air, water, ether, and Manas Buddhi Ahamkar on top of it. When there is this constellation, we have a jiva or a living body. The Mahabhut gives rise to Jeev Bhut. In the right proportion, when you can get the 5 Mahabhuts and the soul enters it, then it will also create these slightly unmanifest zones of Manas, Buddhi, Ahamkar. Manas is the mind, impressions. Buddhi is the application of various faculties to create experiences. And Ahamkar is the proprietorship or the direction in which you steer your desires. So everything starts with Ahamkar. In Gita, when Krishna talks about Bhumi Rapanalo Vayu Kham Mano Buddharevcha Ahankarityam Bhinna Prakriti Rashdha. The Prakriti or the nature is composed of these 8 faculties: fire, earth, air, water, ether, Manas, Buddhi, Ahamkar. Nowhere the soul is mentioned. The soul comes into the Prakriti, just like a seed comes in the soil to germinate as a tree eventually. The soul comes in the Mahabhut and it will germinate in this fertility of Manas, Buddhi, Ahamkar to form a Jeev Bhut, which will die. So the bodies are repeatedly created. Why are the bodies being repeatedly created? Because the soul is not free. Jeev Badh. It's not a Jeev Mukt. The Jeev Baddha state states that once you have fallen from the unified integrity, you have disintegrated from the unified perfect integrity, you fall down into the world of creativity. And in creation, the soul has come because of a desire that has germinated, like a malfunctioning piece of equipment that has propped itself up, like an antivirus in a computer. And so it is trying to manifest its effects. We should not be critical in judging that this desire is evil or unacceptable, but we have to agree that this is imperfect state. Why is it imperfect? The desire that germinates in the soul germinates because it cannot handle the peace. It is not accepting the peace as the real state. It is similar to the manifest state of boredom in wakefulness that we will experience whenever we are running low on creativity. And whenever you are bored and the body is still healthy and able and not hungry, you will go and chase sex. Because that is the cheapest form, most readily form of entertainment that is available to create the feel-good feel. So boredom begets creativity, and boredom begets lazy creativity when individuals have limited faculties to create higher levels of creation. So anyways, desire begets incarnation, and this desire makes you commit karmas, activities which will create karma bandhan, the bondage to the activities, because now you have to experience the repercussion of those activities. When you acted a certain way, you were the actor, but the person you acted with or the environment you interacted with has an experience from your action. So now you have to come back the next time to be the experiencer of the actions. And that is why I say do not harm anybody, do not do stuff that hurts anybody, because then you are going to experience the same mirror effect the next time. So that is what creates this bound state, the state in which you are banging the ball towards the wall and the wall is ricocheting it back towards you. So there is this constant activity of this constant unfolding of activity and the reactivity from that activity, the karma and the consequence of the karma, because of this glue, the karma bandhan. So this is the reason for rebirths. And the first birth that happens, the first incarnation that happens from the birth of desire in the kingdom of peace. So we understand that once a soul drops from the unified, perfect integrity, if you want to call it unified, peaceful integrity, we have come into the world of Sagun, which is identity, because desire begets identity. In order to play, you need to be lacking something and then you're going to be chasing something. And that is the whole game of Sagun Brahman. But desire and the ego that was created from this desire gave you an identity. And identity is nothing but this constellation of Bhumi, Rapanala, Vayu, Kham, Mano, Buddhi, Rev, Ahankar, all of them in a certain proportion. And that creates this identity, individual that we are. Now, whenever you have no more actions to commit and there's no reactivity involved because of your lifestyle, either you have few interactions and you have mostly time spent in activities that are nishkam karma, they are not being propelled by any kama or passion, then you are ready for resubmitting your soul back to the UPI, unified perfect integrity. But please keep in mind that just as a river or a raindrop entering the sagar or ocean loses its integrity and becomes the ocean, your soul merges into the UPI and becomes Paramatman. Then you cannot create borders and distinctions, compare and contrast your soul versus the Paramatman. But that only happens when you are able to effortlessly merge your soul back into the Paramatman. So that's why the distinction ceases there. The identity ends there. And that is the state of liberation. And that is the state of release from the Sagun Brahman back into the Nirgun Brahman. So then you cannot say, where is that soul? If you are looking for the soul of Vivekananda today, you're not going to find it. Because he has gone back, merged into the UPI. But if you are looking for someone who is still not merged back, volitionally, or because of some more births that he has to take, then he is in the higher realms. Brahma Bhuvan Loka Punaravartino Arjun Mao Petatu Kante Punarjamna Vidyate. Once all those 7 lokas, Bhulok, Bhuarlok, Swarglok, Janlok, Maharlok, Taplok, Satyalok, Brahmalok, all those lokas have different beings. They are souls. They are in different states. Are they in the heaviest, thickest, most expansive desire state? Come to the Bhulok. As you get lighter in your needs around you, but you still want to exist, because you have exited. To exist, you have to exit. The exit with the soul becomes exist. So, for you to exit the UPI, you can exist in a lot of different realms, but most of the times you will fall to the lowest realm. Tetim bhaktva svarglokam vishalam shine punne martlokam vishatti. After consuming the effects of their fruits in Svargaloka, they fall back to Martaloka. So, the coming and going relentlessly continues. Tetam bhuktva sarlokam vishalam shine punne martalokam vanti. That kind of back and forth will continue. And that is because the same soul is forming new bodies, new experiences, because it has not been liberated. Now, once you cross the Swargalok, then this falling back and forth will stop, because you have exited to the lighter lokas. These are the lokas of Sattva. These are lokas of truth and lightness, Satya and Sattva. So those lokas, you will be meditating, you will be doing some creativity, you will be doing something to enhance the experiences of the lower lokas, namely the Svarglok, Bhuvarlok and Prithvilok, Bhulok. So all these masters who are in the higher realms, they have to be worshipped and thought of in the mental realm by us mortals on Bhulok, to call them to help us out in certain realms to cancel the effect of karmas. Otherwise, karma will continue to operate autopilot and continue to impart experiences which can be iksha dvesh samuthen dwan mohan bharta sarbhutani sammohan sarge yante parantapa, which will be in the duality of desire and aversion, creating happiness and unhappiness. So you have heard about joy, and there can be joy or there can be sorrow. There can be happiness or there can be unhappiness. Now there is a state called bliss. This is the state of the higher beings beyond the state of Svarglok, where they exist but remain highly unmanifest. The problem with manifestation is you have an artillery and ammunition of identities. You are a doctor, you are a son, you are a brother, you are a spiritual leader. There are so many identities imparted to you, innumerable, and people are gaining experiences on the other end from those identities. So you will be called back for more experiences if there is some need for you to come back based on the desire of the other souls. So it's like one soul can trap another soul in this experience. So that is the beauty of incarnation. From the desire they have acted on and create karma bandhan glue, which keeps bringing them back into new bodies. But remember, none of these souls are free to merge back into the avyakt or the unified, perfect, unmanifest integrity, which is the Paramatman. The avyakta. Avyakta dini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata vyakta nidhane tatraka paridevna. Everything is avyakt or unmanifest in the beginning, because manifest when you fall down, tetam bhuktva svargalokam vishanti, when you fall down from Svargalok to the lower lok, which is Bhuvarlok and Bhulok. And then avyakta dini bhutani vyakta madhyani bharata vyakta nidhane tatraka paridevna. In the middle it becomes vect, and again it ends in the unmanifest, if there is an ending, because this time and space construct that you are using to build your logic is applicable only in the lokas, and more so in the lok of materialism, in the lok of Mahabhut, which is Bhulok. In the upper lokas, there is less manifestation, thinner air for better statement, more in the realm of air and ether, So there is lighter existence, as I said, sattva and satya, which is light, levity, and satya means truth. You stay in the more in the realm of bliss. And if you keep increasing your bliss, there's one state in which there is zero identity and you end up in peace. So you can have a lot of identity, which is in the bhulok, in this body, lot of different desires and actions based on the desires, and some of them will misfire to create the ripple echo effect which will bring you back. So it's very hard to be blissful on bhulok because there will be some misfiring of the shots that you engage in with the environment, including other souls, the experiences they are gaining from you. But you can be happy, which is the gain of experiences which make you feel good or good like based on your state of the mind, or pleasure, which is the gain of experiences on the sensual plane, which will obviously be temporary, and that's why all the pain inflicted on the mind. So senses will create sensuality and pleasure. The mind will create happiness. And then the intellect, which is higher than the mind, will create a state of bliss. And even higher if you go, that is a state of peace. So bliss is this juggling of state of being, existence, albeit a lower level of existence than the bhulok, and the feel-good feel that you get from happiness. So it's trying to be doing something but not zero thing, because if it does no thing, nothing, it becomes unmanifest avyakt, going back into the UPI, unified, perfect, peaceful integrity. It's integral because you cannot distinguish one soul that merged into it versus another soul that merged into it. You cannot distinguish the soul of Hanuman and Ram once it has become Paramatma. You cannot distinguish the soul of Vivekananda from Ramakrishna Paramhans once it has become Paramatma, because there is no identity. And that is the beauty of that UPI state. Like the dreamless sleep. That is the closest you come when you lose confines of space and time. And when you're in the dream state, you are more in these middle zones where you can have a good dream or a nightmare. And then, of course, there is the wakefulness. What is reality? That is a question for another day. But today, just remember that reality versus fake experiences, most of the ways that we intercept are a construct of the mind. When you have space and time and an observer to be able to record that space and time, you call it reality. And one of the facts are missing, either the space and time construct of Sagun is missing or the observer is missing, we call it fake. And we assign time duration as a factor to distinguish real from fake. A dream is said to be unreal because it unfolds for several hours and then you wake up. But if you never wake up, the dream will become real. So it's all about the time frame and the reference point. How long it lasts and who is the observer. Is the actor himself the observer, or there is a different being in a different plane who is observing you? So reality and fakery are constructs of the mind based on the time duration and the reference frame. So here our goal is to understand that bodies are being reincarnated, and one of the most important goals of our soul is to make better bodies, because that is the way to experience happiness and joy. And you will have the other polarity, which is unhappiness, sorrow, and pain, suffering. That will be an integral part of the two-sided coin of Sagun Brahman. So once the soul returns to its initial abode by liberation, it stops to exist. So it has become a part of the UPI. And then again, if there is a disturbance, a perturbance because of getting tired, exhausted, bored, hence comes the malvirus. It will break from it just like the heat of the sun evaporates water from the ocean to form clouds. It is the same principle whereby there is a perturbance in the UPI by the forces of Prakriti, which is totally distinct from the Atman complex. Aj, Aja, there is a Paramatma, Atma, and a Prakriti. Those are the three states of anything. So, when the Prakriti starts to agitate the Brahman, which actually includes the Prakriti, so I shouldn't say Brahman, but let's say the Paramatman complex or the UPI, then there is some shakeout. It's just like there is evaporation of water from the ocean to the clouds, or there is a shakeout of few drops of rain from the cloud. To me, the formation of clouds is representing the formation of Atman, evaporating from the ocean of UPI Paramatman, and then once they are returning back, सब जन मुझी से पाते हैं फिर लौट मुझी में आते हैं, that cloud, when it precipitates, it falls back in the ocean. So where is that raindrop? Where is that raindrop that fell from the clouds? You cannot distinguish and identify it. Only you can identify it as long as it is distinct from the ocean. Once it drops and falls back in the ocean, or the river that just meanders its way from the land into the ocean, there is no existence. There is no identity. So identity is a function of migration from UPI, the Avyakt, Nirgun Brahman, into the world of Mahabhuts, into the Bhulok, the experience lok. And that is what creates the identity. So my friends, bodies are created based on the experiences that the soul has created the first time, and then it's the repercussions of those activities that are creating the future reincarnations, until it will exhaust all its karmas and have no more desires. So the remnant desires will be slowly burned off. And with passage of time, this is the natural construct of a soul that is on the up trajectory versus the soul that gets more bound to the earth, represents it has way more lives than the lives it already had to be making the U-turn towards mukti or liberation. So you might be older than your child, but your child might have had more births or more experiences and a set of experiences that make him more spiritually advanced than you. That is why we have a lot of sickos, spiritually immature, chronologically old. They are still thinking about the Vishayas because they have not had so many lives. So need to lead a lot more lives to overcoming their sickness of sicko. So that is the formation of the body, first time because of identity, and then second, third, fourth time reincarnation because of living through those experiences and the karma bandhan. And once they have burnt all their desires and the karma bandhan from the propped up activities from those desires, they are eligible for liberation, but they might choose to stay in this semi-bound state, the state of satya and sattva in the higher lokas. When you are having a lot of manifestations, a lot of identities, you stay in the lower lokas with a lot of experiences, a lot of pain, a lot of happiness. That's the myriad of experiences we have chosen as being participants of Bhulok, high level of activity and experience. When you want to tone it down, you transgress above the Svarglok into the Janlok, Maharlok, Tapilok, Satlok, different manifestations of higher existence where you are doing creativity and a lot of times monitoring of the activities going in the lower lokas. And finally, when you are graduating from this level of Satya and Sattva, you have no distinctions. There is no space and time. The avyakta dini bhutani, the unmanifest world of UPI, unified perfect integrity, is where the soul returns and it stops to exist. And hence, it doesn't need to create new bodies. It doesn't need to have its own fragmented portion, which is called Atman. It becomes the Paramatman.